can do. He'll give them 3 million. I'm one of his underwriters.
Paul in...
No takers, by the way.
Absolutely none?
None.
Okay, you think your money's safe?
He smashed Origella on the telly in that way.
How much do you stand to lose if someone does it?
Well, I put in my house. I put in my mortgage.
That'll be a lot then.
Yeah, I'm not going. I feel perfectly confident in it.
Paul in Glamorgan.
There are no miracles.
Simon, yet another atheist obsessed with evidence. Evidence is a concept that belongs to science. Religion is not science. Do I need evidence to judge the Good Samaritan's action? Do I need evidence to believe that loving my neighbour is a good thing? And neither should evidence be set in opposition to faith. Again, do I need blind faith to acknowledge the spiritual power behind Christ's "Father, forgive them, they know not what they do"? And then he, as a final question, has your guest read Wittgenstein? But that to one side for the moment.
In reverse order, yes, I have. In the second order, you wouldn't need evidence to appreciate the gesture made by the Good Samaritan of one human being to another in trouble. I mean, evidence doesn't come into that. You might, if you wanted to prove there had ever been such a person at that time in that part of Samaria, you'd need evidence, but it seems to me to be overburdening the story. What you cannot say is that he was motivated by religion to help his fellow man, because the story is told by Jesus. He clearly can't therefore have been a Christian, the Samaritan. As far as we know, he did the right thing for no other reason than that it was the right thing. In the same way, I'd ask in return, do my Jewish ancestors have to be accused of having got all the way to Mount Sinai? Not that that story is true either, but suppose it was. Under the impression that murder and perjury and theft were okay, only to discover when they get to Sinai, here are some commandments that say they're not kosher? Of course not. It's an insult to humanity to talk like this. They wouldn't have got that far if they thought that murder and theft and perjury were all right.
We've talked all this time, we haven't even mentioned Iraq, so maybe this will be one of the interviews that just doesn't get into that. Do you think, finally, Christopher, that if... I had a similar conversation with Richard Dawkins, but do you think that you would win more converts to atheism if you were less dismissive of religious people?
I have no idea, but I can't be other than dismissive. I hear someone like that sheep-faced loon from Blandford Forum. I have to say it sounds like bleating to me, and I remember why you people call yourselves a flock. Yeah, be like a sheep if you must, but please leave me out of it. I'm not a sheep, and I don't need a shepherd, and what shepherds do when they're not actually messing around with their sheep is they're keeping them alive so they can be fleeced and then killed. And yes, hearing these bleatings from the Church of England does remind me of that. I don't feel any need to make converts by not saying what I think. I leave it to them to make their hypocritical, unctuous, pseudo-friendly statements in the hope of keeping people inside the church.
Finally, just because it was in the news today, should RE be taught in schools? There was an Ofsted report saying that it says it's issued this report about the role of RE in the national curriculum. It says that RE must be provided for all registered pupils with an agreed syllabus that should, and I quote, reflect the fact that the religious traditions in Great Britain are in the main Christian, whilst taking account of the teachings and practices of other principal religions.
No, not for that reason. No, that's ridiculous, because that also opens the door, and has already opened the door, with the help of the Church of England, to the forcible inculcation of the Quran, and also to separate schools for separate denominations of Christianity, the brilliant solution that worked so wonderfully in Ulster for so long. No, that's just an incitement to sectarianism and superstition. No, I don't think a person has been educated until they have studied the King James Bible and the Cranmer Prayer Book. I'm just talking about England now, and English literature and the English tradition. I couldn't count as educated someone who didn't have a pretty good working knowledge of the King James and Cranmer versions of some of the English hymnals. Of course, the Church of England has tossed those out in favour of New Age Babel books, so my point would now be, in spite of... we'd have to teach it in spite of Christianity, or in spite of established Christianity, not because of it. But yes, I think everyone should be... it must be studied. Yes, but it must not be taught as if it were revealed truth, because... Well, actually it can't be, because anyone who studies it will see that no such revelation could have been so incoherent and so inconsistent. But when you read in the book of Job that man is born to trouble as the sparks fly upward, if you don't respond to a thing like that, or to the psalmist, or to some of the 39 articles even in the appendices of the forever, then you have no feeling for English literature, which is a great national problem as it is. And you wouldn't be able to understand a lot of Shakespeare. You couldn't read Milton at all. You probably wouldn't get the devotional poetry of George Herbert and John Donne. I think it's absolutely essential. It's part of the canonical education in our language and literature. But to teach it for the banal, ghastly, bureaucratic motives that you just read out would be to make everything boring for everybody.
Christopher Hitchens, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much.
No, it's very handsome of you to have me.